This is Brian Russell with Walking and Talking Spirituality. Thanks for taking a walk with me on this beautiful sunny day. Thinking about Lazarus. Had some really powerful experiences in my life recently, and the character Lazarus came to mind, and so I was back looking at John chapter 11, and if you're familiar with it or maybe not, it's one of those, it's the text. Many people have heard this verse where Jesus says, "I'm the resurrection and the life." Jesus delays when he finds out Lazarus is near death, and by the time Jesus goes, Lazarus is dead and he's in a tomb, and he gets there and realizes Lazarus is dead, and he feels it as a human, and it says Jesus wept. But then he tells the folks to roll the stone away from the tomb, and Lazarus' sister says, it's kind of funny, it's like, "Lord, he's been in there, I think it's been 4 days, and it smells." And I was thinking, even after Jesus raises him up, it probably still smells. There's that stench of death in the air. And I'm trying to figure out and think about what it must have been like for Lazarus, right? He died. And I'm not going to speculate about what happened after he died before Jesus raises him up, because we have no idea. But just imagine if you're Lazarus and suddenly, Jesus raises him from the dead. So when Lazarus comes back to life, where's he at? He's still in a stinky cave. It has to be dark. And we know the text says he's covered, his head is covered in bandages, his whole body's covered in burial cloth. So it's dark when the lights sort of come back on for Lazarus's consciousness. And I thought for a second, when you've been touched by God's grace in your life, or you've come through a really dark time in your life, sometimes we're just happy that we're still alive. I know that speaks to me really powerfully that, I lived. And sometimes we call those persons survivors. And it's great, right? But Lazarus has literally prevailed over death because Jesus raised him from the dead. And so, but he's sitting there in the dark, and what's it mean to be raised from the dead? Sitting in a dark, stinky cave with your burial cloth still on. But that's not what Jesus is about in our lives, is it, friends? Jesus doesn't just want us to come back to life. Jesus invites us to an abundant life. I don't think it's any coincidence that the chapter immediately before John 11 has that verse, "The thief only comes to steal, to kill, and destroy, but I've come they may have life and have it abundantly." So Jesus comes to give us an abundant life. And Lazarus illustrates that, because Jesus doesn't leave him in the stinky, dark cave covered with the burial clothes, does he? Jesus calls Lazarus, and again, it must have been so bizarre. Lazarus probably doesn't even know what's going on. He's conscious, but he can't see anything. And he hears this voice of his friend inviting him to come back out into the light and not just be alive, but live. Jesus doesn't just leave his friend alive. He calls him back to new life. He says, "Come out." And then the astonishing scene, Lazarus comes out, but he's still got his legs tied up with the bandages, his feet, his hands, his head's covered. And then what does Jesus do? He says, "Take off his bandages, unbind him." I'm guessing some of you that are listening to this right now probably know what it feels like, looks like, smells like, is like to be alive, but be in that dark, stinky cave, all bandaged up. What would it mean for us? I'm asking myself this question. To hear Jesus in calling us and walk out of the cave and live abundantly. And the second thing I think this text really suggests, it really shows the power of community, because Lazarus needs help when he comes out. God brings him back to life, but Jesus has Lazarus, or the folks that are around him, his family and friends, they're the ones that are unbinding him. Who in your life, are you around hitters? not takers, but hitters, people that are going to step up to the plate and go for the homers. You're around the kind of people that inspire you, that will come alongside of you and not be content to see you living in a stinky cave all bound up, but will rejoice that you're alive and help you to take the cloths off so that you can really live. You know, that's the kind of community, that's the kind of people that I want to be around. That's what deep dive spirituality is all about. I'd love to hear your story. Love to hear your conversation. If you're really struggling to live, even though you know you're alive, why don't you reach out today, deepdivespirituality@gmail.com. Love to have a conversation with you. Until next time, live by faith, be known by love, and be a voice of hope to others.